Okay, let's grab our seats. My name is Ron. I'm an alcoholic. How you all doing tonight? Good evening. Welcome to the rainstorm meeting of, what is this, 5/2/2022? I don't even know. Anyway, quick announcements. I guess you guys are all aware we have a Facebook page, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown. Keeps us all connected. Post anything in there that you have to do with Alcoholics Anonymous, any events, workshops, or anything that you think is significant that'll help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. And that's the nature of our whole group here, is to be of service. If you'd like to be of service, see us after the meeting. There's always a lot of stuff to do. We have all the literature and stuff on the back tables. We have the flyers for our sister group, which is a big book study. Meets right up the block here on Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. We get there about 6:30. If you're struggling in sobriety, come see us. We just love to sit down and try to guide people through recovery and get them free so they get to experience the true gift of sobriety, which is recovery, right? Anyway, we got a good lineup tonight. We got a great speaker, so he says, right? Ooh, so we'll see to that. No. Nick's going to come up here and chair. Let's welcome him up.
Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Nick and I am an alcoholic. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street at 8:30 p.m. in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. Food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from their message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes, sir.
Evan, I'm an alcoholic.
Evan, welcome.
Tim, alcoholic.
Hey, Tim. Yo, Kyle.
Eric, alcoholic.
Hey, Eric, welcome. Welcome.
Kenny, alcoholic.
Yo, Kenny, welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Tony, alcoholic.
Welcome, guys. And welcome to everybody. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements for the good of AA? I have one quick announcement. We have a new meeting in Quakertown. It's on Tuesday nights at the First Church of the Brethren on Trumbarrelsville Road. It's a big book meeting. It's the Jaywalkers group of Alcoholics Anonymous. 7 o'clock on Tuesdays in Quakertown. Thank you. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs to help those who can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD Donations. If you would like a CD of any speaker past or present, please see me or any home group member before or after the meeting, and they are available free of charge. And now with that, I have Sherry to come up and read the AA Preamble.
Hi, I'm Sherry, I'm an alcoholic. The AA Preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I've asked Anne to come up and read the AA 12 Steps of Recovery.
I'm Ann, I'm an alcoholic. The AA 12 Steps of Recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, were entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked Him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we have harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only for the knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs.
The 7th tradition. Every AA group ought to be fully self-supported and declining outside contributions. At this time, we'd like to pass the baskets. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses, and this group provides many services. Your donations cover rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops. There is absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones and try to limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. And now, to introduce our speaker, a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group, Matt A. from Florida, the Unfortunates in West Palm Beach.
Good evening. My name is Matthew Anderson. I'm an alcoholic. What an honor to be here. Thank you for Ron asking me to come out. I really appreciate you guys, man. You know a powerful group when you like walk in a room, and you can just feel the spirit, moving. And that's what I felt when I walked in. And we all know, if you've been around for a little while, there's a lot of meetings, but there's not a lot of groups, and I'm just happy to be a part of a good group, and I'm happy that I had a good group come and ask me, or that I came out and spoke at a good group. So I just really want to start with a reading, and it's on page 29. And it says, each individual in the personal stories, all 42 of them, describes in his own language and from his own point of view the way he established his relationship with God. Doesn't say he got sober. And my story's no different. It's no different than anybody else's story that's in the literature or, what we're supposed to be talking about. And that's what I plan to do is tell you how I established my relationship with God. So I thought the things that made me an alcoholic were my dad beating us growing up, mom at the door begging him to stop, you're killing them, me and my other brothers. I thought that because my friends ran when I got stabbed, or I spent over 15 years of my life in prison, or my house burnt down, or I shot somebody under the influence, or I had all these reasons and observations on what created me and what made me an alcoholic, and I found out through the literature and doing the work that none of that's true. None of it's true. What makes me an alcoholic is I pick up one and I cannot for any reason whatsoever put it down. Doesn't matter what happens, doesn't matter about the consequences, doesn't matter about my experiences that I had prior to know that this isn't for me. So I thought that all those things were what created me, and none of it's true. It's just that I have an allergy, and they made it real simple in the doctor's opinion for me, which was an amazing piece of literature. So how I got here was complete brokenness, right? Now I'll just get right to the point of, and everybody in the book, if you go in, even the two guys that are described, which is Fitz Mayo and Hank P. in the back of the doctor's opinion, and all these guys were completely broken, hopeless. Bill too, broken. Like guys didn't, gave up on life, gave up on anything that they could do any sort of thinking on their own. But that was me as well. So what happened was I spent most of my life in the streets and running crazy and, doing the things that we do to get some. And it was just a mess, It started off with Coors Light, to then it started to, we needed 40s. So I'm one of them old school guys that drank 40s of OD. And, I needed another one. As soon as that one was gone, then we went to Mad Dog 2020. I don't know if any of you guys know the Cisco era, but Cisco was like liquid crack, and I loved it, man. I loved the feeling, and I didn't understand what was going on around me, but I know when they invited me, like I come from a household. I got 3 older brothers. I'm counting myself. So there's 4 of us. There's 4 boys, and they're all older than me. And my brother Joey was the man. I mean, simply put, he was the man. And I remember going around the neighborhood, and all I would hear was Joey's little brother. Joey's little brother, and everybody knew me as Joey's little brother. So like I would walk around, our little hood, and I'd be like, oh yeah, man, I'm Joey's little brother. You better, Matter of fact, I remember this guy. It was a group of guys, it's about 10 or 15 gentlemen, and in our neighborhood, what happened on Halloween was like the older kids would go around and snatch your candy bag. And that's what they did. The older kids would come around, take your candy bag and all that stuff. And I remember they came up to me and they grabbed my candy bag, and I'm holding on to it, and he's swinging me around. I was probably airborne, and it was like swinging me around, and I just wouldn't let go of my candy bag. And not because like I cared about the candy that much. I probably did. I love candy, I always have, right? But because my pride wouldn't allow me to let go of the bag, even at that age, I'm talking about trick-or-treating age, my pride wouldn't let me let go of the bag. And I remember like I went to this big redhead kid, right? And he was an older guy, and I was like, yo man, they took my candy bag. And he was like, all right, cool, I'll help you. And we walked down the street, and then of course we see them, the 10 or 15 gentlemen, and I was like, there they go. And I turned around, and my man had left. I don't know where he went at. So, but pride again, right? I go to him, and I say, hey, man, where's my candy bag? Just like that. Where's my candy bag? And they looked at me, they talked amongst each other, and they said, that's Joey's little brother. And they gave me my candy bag. And I looked in my bag because I had this mask. It was like it's funny, but it was a black rubber mask, like a pinhead mask, but it had a zipper down. I didn't know it was like some crazy sexual mask back then, but it was, I didn't get it from my mom's room anyway. But I had this mask, and I looked in there, and I liked the mask. So I was like, where's my mask at? And they like started talking amongst each other again, and they gave me my mask back. 2 of those gentlemen followed me back to my friend's house, because back then you had to go and get your candy checked, Now I know that was just like the parents taking the stuff that they wanted, right? But they had to check your candy bag to make sure there wasn't nothing in it, right? And I remember they followed me there. When I came out my friend's house, they got on their knees and begged me not to tell my brother Joey. And I didn't know what that was, but I wanted that. That was my first experience with alcoholism. Little did I know, but I would do and go anywhere that my brother Joey went, and do whatever my brother Joey did. And he drank, I drank, So whatever Joey did is what I wanted to do. So I guess to talk about how I woke up and how my spirit woke up, I would have to tell you how I went to sleep, And I remember, I can almost recall to the day of what happened, The only incident that I can really tell you about is like my dad was a general contractor. He had this gray metal thing and he kept money in it, receipts and stuff like that from his jobs. But he always kept cash in it, right? And I hated my dad growing up. Like me and my brothers used to plot on doing things to my father. And like I really despised my dad. Couldn't stand him, didn't care too much about him. So in my heart, and I had justifiably, any justifiable reason to take anything from him, And when this guy had a mini bike down the street for $80, I knew where to get the money. So I remember going to my dad's gray thing, and I remember we can all, I know there's some thieves in the room. We all did that, right? There's thieves in the room, and rather it was sexual, rather it was thievery, or whatever the case was, right? I remember going in and before I even opened the gray thing, I remember going to my dad's room, sneaking in there because I was a sneak. I snooped in everything, right? And I remember going in there, and before I even grabbed it, something inside of me was loud. It was almost an audible voice, and it said, "Don't do that." Remember that? Remember that voice that said, "Don't do that"? It was like people called it our conscience, and we knew what it was back then, but then you had other people that said that if you hear voices, you're crazy. So you didn't want to tell people that you heard something like that, but I didn't, I was like, but I heard it. It was there, and it was loud, and it was clear to me when I was a child. And it tells us in the literature, deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. He's always been there. So I remember ignoring the feeling. I got 20. I ran back to my brother Chris. I was like, "Yo, I got $20. And he was like, "Cool, we'll cut grass and get the rest." And I was just looking at him dead in his face, and I was like, "I'm not cutting nothing." Because it didn't make sense to me. So I went in, I got another 20. And it didn't make sense because I hated him. What is this thing telling me not to do it? So it was easily ignored and pushed to the side of, what are you talking about? I'm getting this money, man. I need to get to the mini bike. And that was the idea. I got to get to the mini bike. So I ignored it and ignored it and ignored it and ignored it throughout my lifetime. I stole everything, comic books, baseball cards. We used to go into the Cumberland Farms and baseball cards. I'm that old. They had bubble gum in them, and you could chew. But the guy would turn his head and we'd snatch all the baseball cards. And I ignored that feeling, and I had it. It's been there, but it got a lot more quiet the more I ignored that feeling. Until eventually, I didn't really hear it too much anymore. So when people came about, even though we had the strong warnings and prejudices of what this thing would do, and they told us not to mess with certain substances and alcohol and leave this alone, leave that alone. They came to school and all that, but I didn't listen to them because it was easily ignored. So that thing that inside of me, I quieted. I couldn't hear it as loud anymore. And if I did, it was much easier to push it aside than it was to listen to it. And I honestly believe that's how we put our spirits to sleep. And sometimes I believe that was before alcohol ever came into the play. My spirit was asleep. So on through the years, my conduct continues. Complete selfish and self-centered. It's all about me. Everything, is about me. You don't understand. I'm Joey's little brother. And then Joey's little brother became not enough. So now I had to be me, right? So I developed this character, and his name was Matt, right? And everybody had cool names in our hood. You had Spike and G, and Kenny and or whatever the case. How all these cool names, but they just said my name twice. It was Matt. And I was like, what? Well, okay, I'll take that. But that was my name. And so it's hard to really justify anything because you really can't, but my selfish and self-centered ways just got me into a lot of trouble, man. Me thinking that I'm the man and absolutely every field just got me into a lot of trouble, you know. Extensive periods of time in prison, just violence. Like you know, and we would think like the behavior is what makes us alcoholics, like I was describing in the beginning, but it's not the behavior that makes me an alcoholic, it's the allergy, you know. Some people like steal stuff, you know, from, you know, the Wawa, or some people can work until Friday, you know, and be at work on Monday. Like I can't do that stuff. Like my behavior gets violent when I start to drink. It gets incredibly violent. People get hurt, not just emotionally, but physically. And I just do some incredibly tragic and violent things while drinking, which of course land me to long, extensive periods of time in other places. So it's not the fact that I do stuff and I'm violent that makes me an alcoholic. It's actually, you know, because I had this allergy, but I didn't know I had it. Somewhere along the line, across this invisible line, how did I get to that? So after being broken and hopeless, I mean, beaten into a state, it went from, and I was thinking about this the other day, I went from getting out of prison, you know how, I don't know if you ever did time, but if you ever did time, you're calling home, I swear I'm never going to do this again. It's over. I promise Mom, my girlfriend, or whoever, I am never doing this again. I got a firm resolution. I'm not going to do it. I'll go anywhere you want me to go. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. And I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I mean it, every fiber of my being. I mean it. And then I get out, you know, and it's like all that stuff just got pushed to the side. It's like, it's crazy. So it started to where I went back and forth so many times that when I did leave prison, eventually I said, I'll see you when I get back. I left prison telling the other inmates that I'll see you when I get back. I'm going home on a small vacation. And not because I wanted to, but because like it made me feel better to tell you that I'll be back, because it made it seem like it was a decision I was making, but I had lost my choice a long time ago and I didn't see it. But I would tell you that I was deciding to come back, and I never wanted to go back, but I continued to go back. And like, it just, man, after being in so much of that, and like, just like, you know, everybody's like telling you you can't be in their lives no more, and you know, you eventually come to this point of being broken where, and that's the best place. So if you're broken and hopeless, what a beautiful place to be, because it gets me to a reason, it beats me into that state of reasonableness where like I'm reasonable about God. I'm reasonable about no human power can help me. So anyway, I tried to go down to Florida. And the reason I went to Florida is because of all the extensive, I'm a 4-time violent convicted felon in the state of Delaware. So I ran to Florida, and my idea was when, not even if, when I catch another charge, because I had no hope that I wouldn't, when I catch another charge, at least I might make it home, was the idea. So me and my girlfriend ran to Florida, and I remember, you know, same thing down there, you know. They tried the geographical relocation. That didn't work for me in the beginning. And then I came back, the back and forth thing. And then when I went back to Florida, I went to rehab. And I remember just being completely broken and giving up on my life, man. Like I was just like, I don't know. And this dude came into the rehab from Alcoholics Anonymous. And I have absolutely nothing in common with the fellow. And he's bald head, black dude, short, from Georgia, country boy, you know what I mean? Never been to jail, nothing, right? But Eddie, my roommate, asked him to be a sponsor. And Eddie was 18, and I was just like, yo, I can't let this 18-year-old punk get the sponsor and not me. So I asked him. You know, I asked him too. Because at this point, I tried detoxes, rehabs, therapy, counseling, you name it. And I've tried it. I went to therapeutic communities. I did all the stuff that the prisons had to offer. I did all the things outside the prisons that our state had to offer. I tried women, different jobs, money, education, walk around with a pocket full of triggers. I can't go anywhere. I can't talk to anyone. You just name it. I tried absolutely every possible scenario that I could come up with to stop, and none of it was effective. I even tried to have a kid to stop. So when I got down there, I had already been, and I thought I tried this too. Oh, don't let me miss that. And I thought I tried recovery, because I went to some meetings. And I went to meetings, and they told me to come back to a meeting. And I went to another meeting and another meeting, and I found a really good group of friends. And that's when I was introduced to the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous. But I didn't know that the fellowship and the fellows in the ship were different, you know? So when I came into Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, in our area, and I'm just being real, in our area, the message wasn't given to me like, this is what we do. There was no precise instructions delivered to me and saying, hey, Matt, come here, this is what we do. No one told me that. They told me to keep coming back to meetings, plug in the jug, 90 and 90, and I tried that. And I developed some good friends, and I thought, like, if me and you just keep coming to meetings every day, I'll do 180 and 90 if you want me to, or whatever I had to do. And like, I figured if I could just keep going to meetings and develop a good group of friends, that I'd be okay. Matter of fact, Paul, my man Paul, Big Paul was one of the first guys, because they came into the facility that I was frequenting as a delinquent prison, and they carried a message. And Paul came in there, and he said, I didn't hear anything else, but I did hear him say this. He said, my car sucks, but my life is amazing. And I didn't understand what that meant, but I wanted to know. So I called Paul. Paul came to my mom's house, and I was like, why is this dude at my mom's house? I had no idea. He was like, where you live? I told him, and he showed up. And I was like, why is this dude at my house? And Paul's 6'7", like 350, man. So I'm thinking Paul's going to like try to put his hand on my leg or something, you know? I didn't know what Paul's intent was. I was scared though, and I was like, yo, I'm going to have to hit this dude hard, you know? And I got in his car, and Paul never tried anything on me. He took me to meeting after meeting after meeting, and he introduced me to the fellows in the ship. He introduced me to the fellows in the ship. And the fellows in the ship, we're kind of like all on the same road and we were talking about this, and I'm happy that I came to a group. Me and Tim were just talking about this outside. There's a lot of meetings. The meeting is just an event. That's all this is an event. It's for me to meet you, you to meet them, and for you to do the work. That's what this is. It's for someone to come up here, carry the message of recovery, to make it attractive to you, so you understand what happened in my life can absolutely happen in your life, and then you do the work too, and keep coming back. When they say keep coming back, they're talking about you, because there's a newcomer going to walk in the door that needs you to take them through the work. And then you got groups, the most powerful entity for carrying the message. Yo, Ron's job is to find speakers to carry the message of recovery for you. Their business meetings are talking about you before you even get here. Thank God for Alcoholics Anonymous and the prayers that you guys were praying before I even got here, because that in fact is what got me here. That is what got me here. Yo, I'm the hopeless, broken, unsalvageable, unsavable dude. Give up. I'm like the dude in the book, hidden in the deserted barn, determined to die. Don't waste your time with me, Doc. That's me. Giving up. So I meet this guy. After I had this experience with the fellows in the ship, right? I thought that the fellowship and the message of recovery was the meeting. And after I thought I had already had that experience, I kind of like just got this dude to sponsor me, because that was like my last hope, you know? My last hope. And the only thing that I hadn't tried, which kind of like just stumbled upon me, was the steps. The message. The message. This message. So And I told him, I said, look, man, if you're going to tell me to call you for 30 days or read something for 30 days, I'll be dead. And I meant that with every fiber of my being. I have been dead so many times before that, in so many hospitals, everything from Camden, New Jersey, all the way down to Good Samaritan in West Palm Beach, flatlined in all of them. And like I had completely given up on my life, and I was just like, yo, if you're going to tell me to go to some meetings, I'm going to die. And he said, oh, no. We're not doing that. And he read the doctor's opinion. And the doctor's opinion says, if the doctor is honest with themselves, they must sometimes feel their own inadequacy. And that hit me like a ton of bricks when he read me the doctor's opinion. I was blown away. And I was like, yo, because I remembered I died, was back 6 hours later, dead again. And the hospital, the doctor said, do you want some help, Mr. Anderson? And I said, yes, please help me. And she said, don't do it again. And then it also said in the doctor's opinion, the only thing that the doctor has to suggest is total abstinence. That is all they can do. And it's not that they don't want to help us. We think we got it rough. Imagine them seeing people in and out of the hospitals, jaundice and everything else under the sun that's going on around here, right? And people dying, kids dying, moms dying, everybody dying every day, and they can't do nothing about it. How do you think they feel? So we started to walk this journey of the 12 steps, me and that man. And I didn't know what it was about. He just started to read, and I listened. And I was really interested. And he broke down the physical part of the first step. And we all know what that looks like. And the physical part is I lose weight, jaundice, I'm in the hospital regularly, I'm sweating, I can't get a cup of coffee to my face while I'm in rehab, right? Because I got the shakes, I'm detoxing. Like, we all know what that looks like. And I was like, yeah, man. But how many times have we all got physically separated and then got drunk again? So I understood that something was going on. So then he broke down the physical part to the bone gristle to me all the way from the doctor's opinion to page 23. And then from 23 to 43, he broke down the mental inconsistencies like Jim and Ralph F. and Harry B. and Jim and Fred. And he broke those guys down to me and how these guys were completely sober and convinced themselves to get drunk again. And I was like, Mom, man, that's me. That's me. I'm the dude that goes, and best way to explain it is what happens when I'm completely sober, nothing in my system, and I get out of prison after doing a 5.5-year bit on one of these extensive bits, and I'm completely finished, I'm done. I know I got thousands of experiences that tell me it's absolutely impossible for you to drink one. Thousands of them. I got hundreds of consequences. I'm going to jail, I'm going to lose everything if I got something to lose. Usually it's a room in my mom's house. I'm going to, and bare minimum, the mental and physical torture of going back to detox, right? I see, it's all right there, and it isn't like, Jill, it's not like someone telling me this is going to happen to you. I know it's going to happen, it's my experience. And I convince myself, and I get out of the prison, and I'm like, here I am. I'm back again, what's up? And I go to probation, because I'm always on probation, right? And I go to the probation office, and the first thought in my head in the parking lot is, I'm going to pee in this cup, and then I got 7 days before I got to get another urine. Just one. Feel comfortable, just got out of jail. I feel better, just take one, and then I won't drink anymore. And then I have one, I believe the lie, with the thousands of consequences, with the hundreds of experiences. I got them all right there in front of my face, and I still convince myself just one. I take one, and then I'm absolutely unable to get my urine clean before it's time for me to piss again. And I'm like, back to jail like that, and I'm like, how did I get here again? And whatever the lie is, another lie would be, I only got $20. It's Monday, I don't get paid till Friday. I go to the liquor store, I get, $20, and I can't drink no more because all I got is 20. And then I go, and then all of a sudden, like, I'm walking out of Wawa's, like I got elephantitis of the legs because I got so many Red Bulls that I'm going to go sell to the corner store before Friday ever hits. And I'm like the guy that my cousins, I thought I couldn't separate the two. My cousin offered me a job, and I was like, yo, this is great. And I see them guys, and they drink just like me. They get smashed, right? And they're smacking waitresses on the butt and all that stuff, right? And they're like toasty drunk. And I'm like, yo, these dudes are just like me, but they stop on Sunday. And guess where them guys are Monday morning? They at work. I don't make it to work. I'm not going to work. So I had to understand that the first step, experience, man, and know what I suffered from. It was important for me to know what I suffered from. I had this allergy that as soon as I put one in me, I absolutely can't control it, and I'm done. I can't stop. So knowing that, what can help me with that? I've tried every human power known to man to try to help me with that. Just keep me from doing the first one. No human power was effective enough. Yo, like we said, I tried absolutely everything. And I'm not talking about like, after I realized that none of y'all could help me, and I'm not talking about the chair or the doorknob neither. I'm talking about him. I had to come to a realization that I needed power beyond human aid. And it told me that was my problem, lack of power. If I had power to choose whether I was going to drink or not, I would have stopped a long time ago. If rehab and physical separation was enough, I would have stopped and been sober a very long time ago. None of that stuff was effective. So no one can help me with that lie I tell myself in the parking lot of probation, and it says 7 days. I need God to restore my sanity in that moment, like he does today. Nobody can help me with that. Matter of fact, this whole room could be packed with the best psychologists and psychiatrists and doctors on the planet, and you can all tell me exactly what's going to happen if I drink again, and I can agree with you and point to you and say, yes, you were right. Yup, great information, doc, but you are not going to be with me or in my head when I tell myself 7 days. I need God to help me with that. So the next time I told myself, and something started to happen to me, and I was having this experience by going through the work as this man was reading to me, and I was like, something's going on here, and you're right, and I was identifying with everything, and I was just like, I do need God. And at that moment, I was like, I'm done. I need you to help me because I have no other solution to this. Yo, you seek him and he'll come. And he did. All of a sudden, just like that, it became more interesting for me to go into this book and do some work with this guy than it was to hang out with my girlfriend outside in the parking lot. It was more important for me to do this stuff than it was to like get a lump sum of money. Like I was chasing God like I never had, because I remember people talking in the meetings about, like you hear newcomers in the meeting, they're like, yeah, man, I found God, and they're like 30 days, and I'm just like, F you, dude, like how'd you find him and not me, and like getting resentful at people that had this experience. But then I started to have it myself, and it was the most beautiful thing that was happening to me. And I was like, I need you. And then it happened, but I didn't realize it was happening until it happened. So how it happened was I got locked up in Florida again. I went to jail. I had 4 months in. I had already been through inventory, right? And I didn't realize the second step was happening in my life until it actually happened, like I said. So I get out of prison, and they took everything from me. They froze my accounts. They took my home. The other homeowner said, yo, you have to leave here. And I remember just breaking down, crying. I'm in the parking lot, and I'm just crying. I'm like, God, what do I do? And then my very next thought said, you didn't even think about drinking. And I was blown away. Yo, I drink for everything. There's never not a good reason. And I had the best reason possible, and it never even crossed my mind. And my frown literally went to a huge grinning smile. And I was like, this is crazy. And my friends were like, what are you talking about, dude? And I was like, bro, like, I didn't even think about drinking. I had that experience. And in the third step, man, I like literally I gave my life to God. Like after that happened to me, in the third step, man, I became a king. I got on my knees and I begged him, and I stand before you a king. And I don't mean a king like the planet announces a king today. I'm talking about a real king, how a king was designed to do. A king dedicates his life to serving his people. That king. And that's what I do today. I dedicate my life to serving my people. And I was willing to do it at that time. And I was like, yo, I'm ready. Let's go. Yes, absolutely. Reporting for duty, sir. But my sponsor was like, I got some bad news. And I was like, what? And he said, you're blocked. I said, blocked from what? He said, blocked from God. How am I blocked from God? Resentments, fear, sex conduct, pride, ego, selfishness, right? You name it, all type of manifestations of self. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how do I get rid of it? And like, I'm like a little boy. Please show me. Show me how to get through this. And I wrote inventory. Inventory was like this. We got this is my store, right? And in my store, I sell moldy bread, rotten fruit, and sour milk, right? That's what I sell in my store. And I've been in this store, and I've owned this store for 20 years. I've been in Doylestown, Pennsylvania, at one of these small little stores for, we are ingrained in this neighborhood. I've been here forever. And you walk into my store, and you see moldy bread, rotten fruit, and sour milk, what do? You leave. All these people were out front, what do you tell them? Don't go in that joint. And then I get mad at you because I feed my kids like this. This is how I feed my kids. You tell people not to come in my store, how dare you? So stuff starts to happen, like your cat ends up missing, right? Tires go flat, suddenly, right? You find like all type of nails sticking out of places, right? Because I'm angry with you. And then somebody walks into my store and you come in and like he's with Ron, and Ron's like awake, so Ron comes into my store and he goes, Matt, have you done inventory? And I'm like, what is that? And he says, let's go look at your bread. And for the first time in my life, I walk from behind my counter and he says, check your bread out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to sell this. He said, oh no, check out the milk, bro. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my milk's like cottage cheese. The fruit's rotten, there's bugs on it. And I'm like, I can't believe. Immediately, I'm not angry with you anymore. I see that it was me. It's been me all along, and I didn't notice it, I couldn't see it. And it tells us in inventory, right, that seeing where others were wrong was as far as most of us got. So this is where the unfair advantage of life came in for me. And that's the truth. Most people, my mother and people like that, like there's people that aren't us that can have a resentment and be angry their whole life with you and never get drunk and die over it. For these things, for us, are poison, And I had to know that. So I notice it. I do inventory. We get into fear inventory, and fear inventory wasn't just about fear. Like whatever I'm afraid of, and it's usually I'm afraid of. You can go on the highest scale you want. I'm afraid of success. I'm afraid of not being success. I'm afraid of love. I'm afraid of not being loved. Or whatever I'm fear. Like one of my fears was my relationship, right? And I just had this experience with my woman, where I'm cussing her out and I'm saying the most absurd spiritual Matt now. This is 5 years in, and I'm like, I'm cussing and everything else. And I realized like I was running on fear. I was afraid of losing her, or I was afraid I didn't want to be in a relationship. And like that fear, and like, because I'm not trusting and relying upon God in our relationship. I trust you to keep me sober, bro, and like to help my life, but I don't trust you with her life, right? And I start to let more and more stuff go as time goes on. And then you got sex conduct, right? And sex conduct isn't about the sex act, you know? It's about the slick, slimy stuff I do to get there, you know? It's about how I hold my arm out the window to the chick next to me at the red light, and I don't even think she's cute, but I want her to see me and my tattoos. Just to be noticed. See me? Hey, what's up? This is just silly stuff. How I'll go fishing on Facebook just to see if you bite. You know? Hey, you look good today. And I want to see if she says, you too. Ha, I got her. Right? It's that stuff. I got to be mindful. Right? And I learned so much about myself in inventory. And a lot of people, the people who are telling you, oh, fourth step is hard, there are people that ain't did it. It ain't hard for me to, I know it's been there. I know it's me. As soon as I see it, I have to see it. How am I going to get rid of the bread and put new bread up there if I don't see the other bread's moldy? I got to get rid of it. It's got to be gone. 5, I go through it with another man. For a woman, another woman, you know? And I go through inventory. And I tell them all the stuff that was in my inventory. And we go over my character defects and where I was wrong at. And like, I'm talking about it's a sacred step. It isn't like, Ron and I share my inventory with Ron, and I mess with his girlfriend down the line. He tells everybody my inventory. It never leaves Ron. It never leaves me with my guys. It doesn't matter what you have said to me. There's nothing you can do. That's God's work. We're talking about sacred. 6 and 7, right? 6 is like, a lot of people would talk about the character defects, and anybody read Drop the Route, this one lady was in there like pulling them out the hat or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of good literature on 6 and 7, but the fact is I'm going to just make it real simple. It's about selfish and self-centeredness. Because I can be kind, and it tells us on 62, one of the guys is the actor, I can be kind, generous, modest, self-sacrificing. I can be all those things, and patient, just to get what I want from you. Mom, I cut the grass. I cut the grass for you. I made you lunch. Got you some flowers on Mother's Day. You got $50? I can be all those things just to get what I want. So if I'm using it for selfish and self-seeking motives, it's a defect. If I'm using it for God and no strings attached, then it's an asset. Just make it like that. And God, take them, good and bad. You can have it all. 8th step, you already did. You did it when you took inventory. It tells us we have a list. It doesn't say we made a list. We have a list. We made it when we took inventory. That's what it tells me in the literature. And 9, you go out, and this is where the magic happened for me. After I seen that I was that guy to you, and that it wasn't your fault, and it wasn't because you came to my store and told people not to come in my store. It was actually because I'm selling moldy bread. That's why you didn't come in my store. The most amazing stuff starts to happen. And I go out and I clean up my past, and the first person that it tells me to go into was the person that I hated. It says the person you hate will arise. We find it much easier to go to a friend than it is to an enemy, but we find it much more beneficial to us. That was my dad. So I went to my dad. And I'm not talking about, hey, I'm sorry. You know how many years they've heard that? Their whole life. Like I went with a list of harms, Like, how can I be upset with my dad? My dad beat me like that. Yo, I beat people just like he beat me. Uncontrollably. My dad beat us like that because his dad beat him like that. And he just wanted us to go the right way, man. That's just what it was. What they call child abuse today, we call discipline back then. That's the truth. So I went in there, I was like, Pop, and it's crazy because, God's is such an amazing dude because you're awake at this point, man, and some cool stuff starting to happen, and you're starting to call it coincidence, right? And you're like, some coincidence is happening, what's going on? I ain't never going to see this person, Shaniqua, I'll never see Shaniqua, And then all of a sudden, Shaniqua's right next to you at the red light. And you're like, how did she get here? And she's like, hey! And you're like trying to avoid, and then and then God's like, move. And you better move when God says move. So I moved. And my dad was behind, he was actually following me. I was on my way back to Florida. I came back here to pick my car up. And he just we parked, I was like, all right, Pop, see you. Because I'm in the mirror, I'm looking in the rear view. I know I got to do it, but I'm looking in the rear view. I'm like, I can do this anytime. It's my dad. I see him all the time. But I knew I had to make the amends, and I knew it was time, but I kept trying to push it off. And he comes right up and lifts my hood up and goes right under my hood. And I'm like, all right, God. So I listed the harms. Dad, I've been irresponsible my whole life. I spent most of my life in prison expecting you to take care of me. I stole all your stuff. I destroyed your home. I had women in and out of your house. I sold drugs and used drugs and alcohol in and outside of your house. I had police attendants at your house regularly, police standoffs at your house. I had police ransack the house, even my mother's panty drawer, looking for stuff. I've been in the newspapers for shooting people smiling, and you had to go to work and face the neighbors with your son in the newspaper smiling after he shot someone, the embarrassment that I did and put upon you. And like amazing stuff happens, like my dad starts crying. And I started crying, and me and my dad were just like holding each other in the parking lot. And my dad's my best friend today, Like, that's my man. I just picked him up from the airport today. He goes down Florida to my house all the time. My daughter's in my life. So much stuff happened in that ninth step, man. So many people to make an amends to. My neighbor, me and him are cool now. So many. I went to the hospital and I wanted to make an amends to the doctors in West Palm Beach that saved my life. Because I remember waking up and saying, you ain't saved nothing, and cussing them out. And I went back to that place. And I said, I want to talk to the people that revived me. And the security officer said, what shift? And I said, all of them. All of them saved my life at one point. Every last one of them. And I went back in there and they knew who I was. They were like, man. I just started bawling, Like powerful stuff happened. And 10, it tells me while cleaning up the past, I usually let guys get into 4 or 5. While cleaning up the past, I clean up the present. We get into some 10-step stuff. I don't want to, if I say some crazy stuff to my boss, number 1, I pray. First thing it tells me to do, pray. Second thing, talk to someone that wants about it right immediately. Third thing, turn my thoughts over into helping somebody else. It's an easy life. Then 11th step, when we're talking about prayer and meditation, we're not talking about yoga, prayer, meditation. That's cool too, and it says do that also. But we're talking about prayer and meditation, the book, Prayer and Meditation. It tells me to pray about the day. When I retire at night, I pray, I ask God to come in and show me what I've done to other people. Do I need to correct some stuff? Did I do something wrong? Do I owe someone an apology? Do I owe an amends to someone? What could I have done better today? And I know that from my 10th step. And then it says, upon awakening, I review the 24 hours ahead. I pray, I bring God in, I review the 24 hours ahead. So if I'm thinking about some selfish, self-centered stuff that I'm about to do throughout the day, I can clear my mind of it in the morning. Sometimes. It's not always I'm not the best at this stuff, but I just get better, And like, I want to be able to clear my day and review the 24 hours ahead. My sponsor would say it ain't about you going to the car wash or nothing like that, and I disagree. I think any plan that I have, I bring God into that plan, because I don't know who I'm going to see at the car wash or anywhere else. But I know I want God to be present when it does happen. And in men's making, there's people on your men's that you never know. Anyway, they pop up. You're like, oh man, I forgot. Ron, man, he wasn't on my list. Definitely owe it to him. Powerful stuff. 12. You're talking about one of the most amazing things that ever happened. If you think you need purpose and direction, we do stuff in here that the churches can't do. We do stuff in here that the most educated doctor on the planet can't do. We wake people up to a spirit. We help people find God that ain't even looking for him. You tell me what's more important than that. They come in here trying to get sober and they have no idea that they're going to find God and establish and I am not talking about a belief, a relationship with God. Are you kidding me? No matter how much or how little I have, I'm okay. Where things, no matter what, my girlfriend passed away. Her name was Crystal Ann Lachette. God bless her soul. When she passed away, I was broken. And I'm talking about I made it through that. And I wasn't like, oh, poor me, It was more like, her son lost his mom. How can I be there for him? And I'm still there for him. Like, cool stuff happens, man. It ain't about me no more. I become a servant. I become a king. I become a king, a real king. Like, there's no better job on the planet, man. If you think oh man, we just go to some meetings, that's because you're having an experience with the fellows in the ship and not the fellowship. But the fellowship of the Spirit is something miraculous and unbelievable. Nothing like it. There's no life I'd rather live. And now I feel just like Paul. My car might suck, but my life is amazing. Nothing like it. Job or no job, wife or no wife, I'm okay. I'll make it through anything. But I couldn't make it through anything. Man, there's nothing like why, and it tells you in working with others, you don't want to miss it. We're sure you don't want to miss it. Believe me, you don't want to miss it, man. We need you to wake up. Because something's happening in our fellowship, man. It's becoming to be a lot of meetings and less groups. And we want you to come to a group. And we want you to be in our group and fellowship with the Spirit and have a conscious contact with God. So you can give it to somebody else, man, and show them the exact instructions that you went through. This thing's been happening since the beginning of time. Frank Buckman was helping people get sober in the Oxford group long before Bill ever took a drink. This thing's been going on. And it's real. And it's been happening. So I'm honored, man. I'm honored to be here. And I don't mean just here. I'm honored to be here. I'm alive. You don't understand. I'm leaving a lot out. Believe me, you don't understand. Me, the fact that I'm alive is a miracle. I remember a guy told me, just be number 2, Matt. Just be number 2. And now look at my life, man, and last is much more than I deserve. And I'm honored to be here, a man of God, and carry this message and his message into the world instead of take from it. My name is Matthew Anderson. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Let's give him another round of applause. Seven days to the next meeting. Stay after the meeting. Stay after the meeting. The meeting after the meeting is very important. Help us eat those cronuts and hot dogs and have some fellowship and some friendship. And hopefully we'll see you either here Monday. I think we're on step 11, I believe, this Monday. And Thursday, we'll be right up the street. So we've got a nice way of closing. Thanks again for coming out, Matt. Appreciate that. And let's take a moment of silence. If you want to help us close this out, do with it as you wish. And if you care to join us, we'll end with the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Keep coming back. If you want to give us a hand and be a little bit of a service, these chairs up in the front got to go on that rack. The tables and chairs just stay there. And if you don't have any big books, we got some nice little ones that you can take back with you, pocket size. See us after the meeting. They're available free of charge.